Resourceful Child series. If you are here, I salute you. Every child was born for a purpose. Every child has a divine assignment. All right. Whether you are a faith person or you are a circular person, the truth is, every person, every child has a divine purpose for which they were created. As a matter of fact, everything on earth has got a divine purpose. I was talking to the children in the mastermind circle the other day, our peer mentorship and accountability group for young children. And I said to them, even the eraser, your tiny little eraser has got a purpose, right? If you are in if you're in an exam hall, right, and you have to pick multiple choice, give pick an answer from multiple choices, and you have circled the wrong one, or you've circled one and decide to change your mind to choose a different option. If you don't have an eraser, that alone is capable of throwing you off balance. That alone is capable of actually making you lose that question, or yes, lose that question simply because you don't have something as little as an eraser to erase the wrong answer so that you can pick the right one. So even the eraser, as lifeless, as small, as simple, as nothing as it is, has got a purpose. So yes, every single one of us has got a divine purpose. Your child has got a divine purpose. And as parents, our job is not to discover that purpose. Our job is to guide our children, give them the advantage, support them in order for them to discover the purpose for which God has created them. Welcome to episode 9, the ninth of 10 episodes in the Resourceful Child series. My name is Maribeth Chima, and I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources, and yes, the proud matron of the Children Mastermind Circle. When I wrote my first book, Bedtime Stories for Champions, I wrote somewhere in the beginning, in the introduction, that every child needs at least one visionary adult in their life who is capable to see the dream that the child has not dreamt yet, who is capable to see potential that the child has not even imagined yet. That one person that is ready to be present enough to make the child believe in that potential, make the child believe in those potentials enough for the child to work towards achieving them. Now, this is what giving your child the parenting advantage is about: being able to guide them, being able to lead them, being able to support them to walk the journey, take baby steps towards becoming that which God has created them to be. So our purpose, or sorry, part of our assignment is to guide and support our children to reach their full potential. All right. I also said in this book that every child is like a gift that is waiting to be unpacked. Every child is like a parcel that is waiting to be opened. If you are young and talented, it's like you have wings. And that is it. Our job as parents is to give our children wings, or help our children recognize how much they can do with the wings that they have. All right. So the more we unravel, the more we open or unfold the gifts that our children are, the more our children are able to discover themselves. So I am going to be sharing from this beautiful book, this amazing book that I wrote, right? In my very first book was written in 2000, right? In the year 2000. Yeah, that year that COVID was biting so much. Yes, so that year, okay, I was writing this book during COVID, and of course it was released later in that year, in the December, I think later in the year, right? We started writing around 2019 when COVID was right there, and it was released, no bread, and it was released in 2020. All right, so in this book I talked about young people having great potentials that if we don't key into as parents, they will not discover, right? So many times we have young children who have so much noise going on around them. That's what I call it. So that's why the subtitle of this book is Inspiring Your Child to Find Purpose Amid the Noise. There is so much noise going on around our children. The noise of the noise, everyday noise of life is going on around our children. There is also the noise of what they are interested in, right? So many times our children don't even know, or we don't pay attention to what our children are interested in. So we begin to call them names, or we begin to see things in them that, if we look closer, is probably not the biggest thing that they are interested in, or the biggest thing about the talents or the gifts that they have. I told a story once, or I gave an analogy once of, a child having that, maybe an uncle, a father, a neighbor who looks or who seems to be a certain kind of person, right? It could be that neighbor that comes across as the wealthy or rich person. Let's say the child lives in a neighborhood where there is this neighbor that is rich, and there is a certain lifestyle that the child sees, right, the neighbor portray. There's a certain lifestyle the child sees the neighbor portray, and the child begins to admire that lifestyle. And so you ask the child one day, what do you want to be? Since we like to ask those questions, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the child says, I want to be a doctor. All right, simply because that neighbor is a doctor. And for that child, doctors are like this person. Doctors are, so the doctor happens to end up being the most wealthy person in the neighborhood, or the doctor, it looks a certain way that the child feels they want to look like when they're older, right? It happens also with celebrities, right? Our children see celebrities, and there's a lifestyle, there is an outlook, and all that the celebrities carry around. And based off on that, you ask them, who would you like to be? What would you like to do in the future? And of course, because these people appeal to them, right? The life that they show, on social media, the life that they show in the media, the life that the child witnesses, right, in the media, may just be the singular reason why the child is deciding why the child is deciding that this is it for the child. And that becomes, what the motivation behind the child wanting or deciding that this is what they want. So that on its own is noise, right? So these are the many noises, okay, that we have around us that can actually sway our children from the real thing that is their interest, or the real thing that they have superpowers in. So I like to call them superpowers, especially when I speak with children. I work with children. So I tell them, what are your superpowers? What is that thing that you do better than the average person? What is that thing that you do better than the people, many people around you? What is that thing that you do that everybody, says you do well or you are great at? Right. Now, these are the things you begin to pay attention to. So as parents, if we're not present enough and we are not, paying attention, we might just get lost or get carried, away by the noise. So how can we help our children recognize, discover, or at least identify their superpowers or their purpose amid the noise? That is what we are looking at today. All right. I shared stories of so many young people in Bedtime Stories for Champions. All right. Bedtime Stories for Champions is about, so many young people who ventured to start doing something, right? Or start pushing themselves, all right? Or ventured to allow their passion gain expression even while they are young. And if you read the story, you will see in the story that most of these children found that passion, that interest, that thing that they love to do, that they enjoy doing, that they feel fulfilled doing, right? They found them right at home, in many cases, in their mother's kitchen, in their grandma's kitchen, in their mom's house, in school, something, right? That something around them or something, in their environment that they are drawn to, right? So many times it's the right environment that children need, right? It's just the right environment that the child needs for them to look inward or for them to connect to that thing that makes them feel fulfilled. In other cases, it's the things in their environment that influence them because they are able to behold these things, and especially during certain times of their lives. So that's why you see a family where their mom was probably a seamstress, is probably a tailor, and before you know it, you find one, two, three of her children already in that line because the environment had something in it that actually stimulated the child just by being in that environment. So it is important that as parents we create an environment in our home that can influence, environment in our home that can influence our children and can help our children discover more about themselves. Right now, I've heard stories, right? We've heard stories, you see a family and then you see, I've read one of those stories on social media, and it's a whole family of girls, and all of them are like medical doctors after their dad. Now, there are two things. It could be in that family that there's a mandate that this is who we are, this is our legacy, and everybody must key into it. But it will shock you that it may just simply be that each of these children are actually, I mean, each of them is actually, invested, passionate, loves, and is endeared towards, this practice. Simply because this has been in their environment and this has influenced them, their environment has influenced them positively enough that they see themselves, right? They see themselves in this practice. They see themselves, creating solutions easily in this area. So there are two things. It could be that the environment that the child finds themselves is robust enough to influence the child. And that is just okay, provided that nobody is putting the child under pressure to be or to, walk a certain path simply because, it is something in their environment. Now, if you find out that why the child is at ease, this thing gives the child a sense of fulfillment. This thing allows the child, create impact. This thing allows the child, be a blessing to other people. Then as a parent, you want to support them, right, to discover more in that area and to become more in that area. It could just simply be you sitting back and watching the child do or go through their everyday life. And while you are doing that, you discover things that the child is interested in over time, and you can create opportunities and platforms, or give the child, opportunities, or create platforms for the child to express themselves in that way. Now, the more the child express themselves in that area, the more the child practice in that area, more the child has opportunity to express themselves in that area, the more the child will discover whether they actually get a sense of joy, happiness, fulfillment from that area. So it's important, dear parents, that we are creating both of this, creating environments that are rich enough to stimulate our children and get our children to, be inspired by certain things in that environment, or that we're watching our children and paying attention to the things that they are naturally pulled to, the things that they naturally like to do on their own, the things that they enjoy doing, and of course, creating more opportunities for the child to grow in that area and make and discover more in that area. All right. So I shared a number of stories in bedtime stories for champions. And in those stories, you will see children like Malala who were inspired, right, to keep pushing even when things became tough. Now, what you find in that case is a case of someone who discovered herself because of the environment where she found herself. The child found her voice right in that environment. So sometimes, as parents, all we need to do is give our children the opportunity to use their voice wherever they find themselves. Give our children the opportunity, or help our children recognize that their voice is their power, and so encourage them to use their voice to express themselves, use their voice to give back to the society, use their voice to carry a message or carry a cause, that they believe in. So, how do you do that? By helping the child build the right mindset and convictions. So, when you are a parent who is helping your child build their convictions, when you are a parent that is focused on helping your child create the right mindset, what you're doing is you are empowering the child. And when you do this, the next thing is you want to give them the opportunity to express themselves using their voice. So, helping your child use their voice effectively is another way to help them, discover purpose early. Now, when your child use their voice, or when you notice that, or when you start helping your child use their voice, the next thing you want to do is you want to get them into platforms. You want to get them into opportunities where they can use their voice. So get them to do declamations, get them to go for debates, get them to participate in your community, in community programs, in church, in the mosque, yeah, social gatherings and things like that. So get your children, right, encourage your children to be expressive like that, right? I remember when our son was about 6 years old, thereabout, we discovered that he didn't want to participate in anything in school. We discovered that he didn't want to participate. So he goes to school, and it's a time, maybe Christmas or one of those times that they have those major presentations in school. And you would always find him at the back for the presentations that the teacher has insisted that everybody will be a part of. You will find him right at the back doing little or nothing, right? Little or not nothing. At the time, we used to think he was because he was tall, and so they had to put him at the back. But with time, we noticed that it was because he was hardly ever interested. So because he was hardly ever interested, so they just dropped him, they just, dumped him somewhere there behind, so that at least parents will not come and fight and say, my child is not participating. Until, I've told this story many times, until one time we had to go for a Christmas celebration, sort of. It was an evening event, with lots of activities and all of that. Almost, practically every child in the school had one activity or the other to do. And the activity started, and kids came on stage one after the other. Meanwhile, they made us buy them like new talks. Like, his class had to dress in like, full corporate, attire and all of that. I remember I closed from work that day, one of those days, and I had to run to go and get something for him to wear. Spent so much money only for me to get there. Daddy was not in town, so it was just him and I. Okay, it was just our son at the time. So we went, and one presentation after the next presentation, till the end of that that's evening, our son did not participate in a single event. So I was wondering what is going on here, So that's when I realized how deep, or how much, his dislike for coming on stage, right? I think that was when I focused, that was when it hits me that, okay, this was more than just, I don't want to be a part of this once in a while. This was something that was turning into like a big thing, like he never wanted the spotlight on himself, and all of that. So we had to start helping him. So first of all, we had a conversation. Like, I left it the next day, I was like, what happened? Because I remember that day when I was leaving, we had to start looking for him. He was in the playground, his shirt was dirty. So while other people were doing other things, he was just because it was done close to the playground. He was there swinging and doing other things, right? So I realized that, okay, we had a challenge here, right? Because it's not only that he didn't want to go on stage and do the things that every other person was doing. He was okay doing something else that had no relevance to what was happening. So he was cool in his isolation, and that was okay. So it was until the next day we had a conversation, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then he said he didn't like being on stage, he didn't like singing, he didn't like dancing, he didn't like talking, he didn't just want anyone to put him on stage. Like, you guys do your stage thing and free me. I'm like, it's not gonna work like that now, right? Because this is my child and I know the potential that he had. This is my child. I mean, this is a child that will hold a conversation with you or any adult on all kinds of, subjects at the time, even at 6. He could hold a conversation about animals, and he had so much depth in that area. He could hold a conversation about cars and engines, how they work, and all of that. He could hold any science, a conversation, on any topic on science at that level, and he will make sense from the beginning to the end. When it comes to just having random conversations and gisting and talking, he will hold you to a conversation. He was a vibrant, child and everything. So in my head, something is going on here, because now what it means is that the child didn't even know that he had those potential. The child was only concerned about how he felt about being on stage at the time. So that wasn't a true, right? That was not a true knowledge. The child wasn't even aware. So that's why I said it's about having that visionary parent, that parent that can see beyond what you can see, that can see, okay, this may not seem to be, they may not seem to be a sprout of talent or skill, right now, but I can see based off on other things that we do that this person has got potentials in this area. And so that's it. We went to work. We started by making him promise that he was going to at least participate in the things that the school asked him to participate. And how did we do that? We told him it is what it is. As part of our values, we do not disobey the law. So that time when we want to make decisions, we say, this decision I'm making, is it going to hurt me? No. Is it going to hurt? I mean, this decision I'm making, when I make the decision, will it hurt me as a person? No. Will it hurt any other person or be a nuisance in my community? No. Is it against the law? No. Is it against God? No. Then if the answers are no, then it's okay. Go in and be a part of it. Right. So as it is, or as it were at the time, if the school says you do presentation and or you're a part of this yearly activity and you don't, it means that you are disobeying the laws of the school. You are not being a part of the school community, so you can't make that choice. So that's it. That's what we told him. You can't make the choice of saying I won't be a part of it if it's something that is required as a student of that school. So based on that, so we made him agree that for everything that is compulsory, he was going to be a part of it willingly without fighting it. And so that's how we started. We started from there, and we now started asking. Then we now said, one of our core values is service and volunteering. Okay. So because at the time I was raising him, he was a little, before our daughter came. And even after our daughter came, because we're raising children, we wanted them to know that part of leadership, was service, part of and volunteering was part of leadership and part of service. So we used to do a lot of volunteering, my husband and I. So if we find ourselves in any of our communities and someone is needed or someone was needed to do something, we always offered ourselves, and it was quite deliberate because we wanted to raise children who embraced service, right? Because service and leadership is one of our cores. So basically that's it. And so we made him agree that, okay, if there has to be a reason to volunteer for something, he would. And that's how gradually we got our son into that space. Now, what else did I do? It was that time of BlackBerry. Okay, so I would ask him, when we get back on our way from school, oh, so what happened in school today? What was the best part of school? What was the best subject for today? And then he would say, and I'm like, would you teach me about it? He used to enjoy that so much. So we would get home, and during, when we're making dinner together, I would put on my camera, and then he would teach me the best thing that he enjoyed learning in school that day. So that's how he started standing in front of my camera, and then I would do the shooting and all that. And when I finish, I'm like, okay, what am I going to send it to? Let's send one to daddy. Let's send one. And he suggests those, close family friends, close, loved ones that he wanted me to send it to. So that excited him, right? That excited him because at the time, my sisters would listen, my friends would listen, and some people call him Prof. So that became a routine that we had. So many times I don't even have to remember. He will be the one to remind me. Oh, mom, today I'm going to be teaching you math. And then I will stay right there, and he will go on and on teaching me and all that. And that's how we developed his public speaking skills. Yes, that's how we develop public speaking skills for my child. That he was, by the time he will, in fact, before that year, before he turned 7, right? Before he turned 7, by the time he was in year 1, right? Year 6, he was somewhere around reception, right? 6 years, he was around reception thereabout. Anyway, by the time our son turned 10, I'm sorry, by the time our son was in year 1, right? Every time there was a presentation in his class, he would have the longest script, like, because he could own it and he could own the stage, right? And that's it. As in, the rest is history, as they say. Because because after that, it was one public speaking activity after the next, one challenge. He's won 2 international competitions public speaking. He's a TEDx speaker. He's a TEDx speaker. And he's done so many things, in public speaking till this day. I mean, he was valedictorian for his class in JSS 3. His school does year 9. He was valedictorian. He's done MC for his school occasion over and over and over again. Anyway, if you ask anyone, you meet anyone that knows him, and you ask, the first thing that they will tell you is our son's strength is public speaking. That became like his biggest strength, at the time as he was growing. In fact, it got to the point he started doing science videos on YouTube because he could take any script. In fact, he didn't need a script. He could build on any area that he wanted to teach, especially in science, and he would own it and teach it, and move on. Right? Just simply because there was a visionary adult that refused to accept that this child does not have potential here, or that this child shouldn't do this simply because the child didn't want to do it. So there is the thing of forcing the child to become something that the child is not, that the child is not interested in. There is the thing of forcing the child to become, or grow in an area that the child clearly doesn't have any potential. But there's also the place as a parent that you can just see the child. It's your child. You see the child, you watch the child, you know the child. That is, if you are doing these things. And you can tell that there's potential here. There is that one that you can tell clearly that your child is not drawn to something, doesn't have the potential for it, doesn't have nothing around there, and you are insisting and forcing because you feel there's something in that thing for the child, or because you think that's what will give the child security, because you think that's what will give the child stability. There is nothing, see, there is nothing that cannot give anybody stability in today's world. All you need to do is discover the thing that you are great at. All you need to do is find that place where you can dominate. It doesn't matter what it is, provided you can get creative, provided you are passionate about it, provided you can solve problems in that area. That is all that you need to excel in that area. Very important. So it's back to why I said the child needs that visionary adult that can see. So yes, for your child, it may not be what you have created in the environment that the child has been drawn to. It may not be what the child is drawn to naturally on their own. It may simply be something that the child doesn't think that they have, but you know that they have. And then you look for strategies, you look for ways to nurture it until the child starts believing in it. Until the child starts believing in it. So today, in fact, during the award ceremony for his school recently, before, so he's in that year where he's in the prefect year now, right? So the last award ceremony in his school, one of the awards that he won was the award of the most, however they put it, the most excellent public speaker, or something, something, something like that. That's it. So that's it. I mean, our son has even spoken at Thinkation, right? Thinkation is a global platform, where he was there as a child speaker, at that Thinkation. So for every time that he's gotten recognition locally, and on bigger platform than just local platform, for a platform. So every time that he's done outstanding things, it was related to public speaking. Right. Is it like he's not doing well in other areas? He is. But why I'm saying this is because this was one area that, if as his parents we didn't pay attention, or we just went through with the fact that the child didn't like it at the time, and we say, okay, just leave him, like her, just leave it. Then today he wouldn't be growing and reaping, fulfillment, joy, happiness, and impact, in an area that who would have thought that a few years ago he couldn't be interested in. Very, very important. All right. Then the last one I'm going to be sharing today is your child, discovering their purpose, or they are using your family values and what you stand for as a family to guide your child to find purpose, right, and create impact. Let me share what I mean here. So just the other day, right, our son and I were having a conversation. So now this is what we do with our children. For every phase that our children get to, right, we look for, because we know that our house, our home, okay, our home, literally and figuratively, right, is not big enough to raise a global citizen, right? We as parents are not enough to give our children everything that they need to become the best version of themselves. So we believe in mentorship, and we believe in finding the mentor, or finding the coach, rather, finding the coach that they need per season. And then we believe in helping them discover or find that mentor that they connect with, right? And then remain in that mentorship, for the longest time, until they get to a point in their life where they find other mentors or whatever, right? So that's it. So it has become a thing for us in our home. At every point, we are asking. So now it's coming. I mean, we're coming to the end of this year. As we're coming to the end of this year, the conversation we are already having with the children is, we're already looking at them and saying, what do they need at this point? What does my daughter need at this point? What does our daughter, what does our daughter need at this point? What does our son need at this point? Now, based off on that, who do they need? What kind of coaching? What program? What platform do they need for this season of their life? So, based off on this season of their life, we're able to connect them to the platform or the coach that they need for this season of their life. That's what we've done, and I promise you, it's been so amazing. All right, it's been so amazing because now we're able to face our blind spots, right? We're able to, as soon as we find out our blind spots, or as soon as we find out, right, the gaps, right, we look for the people that can help work with us even as we're working to fill that gap. As soon as we find an interest, we look for the people that can help us at that time so that we are working together. Right, exactly. So our son is in that phase where he's already beginning to look at, he's leaving secondary school in the next year or so and all that. So he's in that space where he's trying to figure out who he is. He's trying to understand this season of his life. He's trying to make very major choices in his life: career, path of study, blah 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 and blah. So what have we done? We have positioned, right, a coach that can help him in this season. We have positioned that for him, right? And our daughter is in that space also. Our daughter is in that space right now where we can tell that she's a natural, right? She's a natural when it comes to speaking and expressing herself and all of that. She's never shown for one day that she's not interested. It's been her thing, and she's excelling it every day. Now, but we are in that space where we want to consolidate so that she learns to speak with sense, so that she learns learns to deliver purpose in her speaking, so that she learns to use her voice in the right way. So, based off on that, we're already aligning her with people that can help her in that area. Now, this is what happened a few days ago. That so our son is he has a group of friends, right? That they are working. He's IT inclined anyway, so he has a group of friends that they've been working on, creating apps, and stuff like that. In fact, they created their first app last year and they presented it at their school's talent show and all of that. So this year they have another big project that they are working on, so they are taking courses online, from different platforms, and they're working on it together. They hold sessions together, and all of that. They have a mentor in that field, that guides them, and they work with him generally and all that. So recently he said to me, okay, so Mr. X said each of us should focus on the area, that we want to, we should niche down basically the area where you want to focus and build yourself in creating, these apps or whatever solutions. Okay, he said it like solutions. So he wants us to niche down to the area where we want to create solutions and all that. So he shared with me the area that he wanted to create solutions, and I asked him, okay, awesome. So based on what did you come to the conclusion that this is the area that you want to, create solution? And it's like, oh yeah, I like, and all that. So now this is what I'm talking about. So I gave him other ideas and I said to him, you do not need to think vaguely about these things. What you need to do is take your values, take our values, take our convictions, take, what we are about. So first of all, impact is a big test. So I asked him what are our core values, and then he names them: service, impact, da 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 da. And then of course, one of our biggest vision is to impact the world through the knowledge that we have, da 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 da. So I'm like, okay, so is that not, so what would you do? What in this field, what area of this field will allow you impact people? Now, not just impact a small size of people, because impact is about reaching as many, impact of course is about changing or transforming one life, at least one life, but impact increases. So if you have solutions that can change the life of many people, why not? Right? If you have solutions that can change the life of much more people than a few people, which one would you go for, since impact is a core? And then he goes like, okay, anything that can impact as many people, the lives of as many people as possible. So good. Now in this field, which area of it would allow you touch or impact more people and all that? And based off on that, he was able to, oh, okay, I think this area. So that's it. So when we teach our children, our values, and we pass down our convictions, our beliefs, and we have those values and we uphold them, two, three, five of them, we uphold them, they become our core. Now, these values can be used to teach our children about purpose, their place in life, their place in the scheme of things, where they are dominating, and what they're supposed to be doing to create solutions for the world. So, yes, another way of helping your child discover their purpose is to help them discover their values, live those values, and use those values to to make decisions and make choices in their lives. Very critical. Okay? So, I just wanted to share these 4 points, or these 4 ways that you can help your child begin to discover and work in their purpose as early as possible. You should get a copy of Bedtime Stories for Champions for your child if you have young children and preteens. You can read this book, right? So it's got 20 something stories of young people, or people who started doing amazing things right from when they were younger. So children who did not waste their teenage or their early 20s. Every family should have a copy of this book in their home. I promise you, every single family. Because this book will help you set your child's mind in the right place. You want to do a whole mindset, shift. You want to pass down real good convictions to your children. Then you need books like this. I encourage you, use it as a shared reading. In fact, it's a conversation starter. It was created to help you have conversations with your children. You will use it to x-ray the life of 20 or over 20 amazing people. And in that, or in sharing this story, your child will find themselves in one of these stories. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful way to help your child begin to see things from a perspective on impact and taking baby steps towards their purpose. Very, very key. All right. And this is what I mean, it's one of the amazing books that we're reading with the children in the mastermind. Okay, are we reading? Yeah, it's one of the amazing books that we read. We've read this book with every cohort of the mastermind circle. I'm not sure we're reading it this year, but I promise you, every child in the mastermind circle has this book. We make them have this book. And that's because we are big on talent, we're big on skills, and we're big on children discovering their superpowers and using them to express themselves. Finding expression for their superpowers beginning right now that they are young children. All right. By the way, if your child is not in the mastermind circle, why now? If you have a child between 5 and 10 and they are not in the mastermind circle, there's a lot that you are leaving on the table, because this circle is a solid foundation ground where we focus on helping children first become aware of themselves and then begin to make baby steps through the habits that we train, right? And then through goal setting and planning, we teach them to set goals for themselves and to execute those goals. So we teach them to stay on task. We teach them to start and begin the things that they start. We teach them to be accountable. The mastermind is one of the most solid accountability systems that you can think of for young children, because the accountability is close, the accountability is authentic, the accountability is consistent. So your child gets to feel heard, seen, and relevant. That's what we have in a mastermind circle. So I said to parents, it's a good place to start. It's a good place for your young child to start. It's a good place for you to help your child build, that's for you to build that foundation that your child needs, so that by the time they become teenagers, when we release them after, when they turn 11, and we release them to, out of the mastermind circle, you can take them anywhere and be sure that your child understands what it means to be a resourceful teenager. So we raise and train our children to become resourceful teenagers. And I promise you, we have raised teenagers that we can hit our chest and say are resourceful when we graduate. I mean, children who go through the mastermind circle through and through, they stay in through the process. I promise you, when they leave the mastermind circle, they are highly resourceful already. All right. So thank you for joining me in today's session. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow when we have the final episode of the Resourceful Child series. Thank you again. If you'd like to be a part of the mastermind circle, we are starting a new half-term cohort. That's what we call it. We have the half-term cohort that starts in January. That cohort runs for 8 months. So it's not exactly half year. So you have bonus where you join. All right. So the children come in from January through, and then we round up with the rest of the kids in August. Amazing, amazing place for your child. All right. So if you like to be a part of, the half year foundation cohort, that's what we call it, then you want to book a slot for your child right away, because we have a limited number of slots for that cohort. It's a half year cohort. So we take a limited amount of people, and then we go to work and round up with them. All right. Thank you again for joining me. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the evening. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.